Hello, lovely witches. This is Dawn from Aurora Dawn. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. And I am going to talk about knives in this video. This comes from this idea comes from Beanbag Wag Hag. That's a witch here on YouTube that I just adore, and I subscribe to her channel, and I encourage you to check her out. She's very cool. Anyway, she shared her knives and how she uses them, and I thought, well, that's a great idea. So maybe I could show you my knives and how I use them, because of course they got to be a little bit different. So anyway, I know there are traditional knives that a lot of people use that may or may not be common to you, or you may not have even heard of them before. First off, there's a knife called a boline, which is a white handle curved blade that is used to cut herbs. And basically I have pruning shears, and I just go out and cut my herbs with pruning shears. I do talk to my herbs. I bless them before I cut them, and I thank them for giving me so much joy and enhancing my life and making my life brighter. So I communicate with them in connecting in a spirit sense to these herbs, which I feel is very, very important. But I don't use a boline, and so when I bring them in the house, I hang them up to dry so they can dry. And if I need them right away, I have a dehydrator, a food dehydrator, and I just stick them in there and let them, sit for a while in the dehydrator. It's kind of like a hair dryer, but for herbs, But that works really well. Otherwise, I just hang them up and let them dry. And every time I come I have a little section in our one of our storage rooms downstairs in the basement that I grow my seedlings for my garden. That's where I hang my herbs up to dry. And so every time I'm in there, I just bless them and say hello and whatnot, and just wait for them to dry. And once they dry, then they crumble up pretty easily. And I can put it in a mortar and pestle, or I can just kind of rub it between my fingers, and it works great. So I don't use a knife there, but a lot of other people do. And so it's traditionally called a boline, and I guess it's something that some witches use, but I do not. So I'm going to start with this first one. This my mother gave to me. And I know it's a little bitty. It's not really a blade. It's a letter opener. It's not sharp or anything, but it has a nice little point to it, and it works great for carving sigils and symbols and words and stuff like that into candles. So that's what I use this for. Let's see. It says Excalibur right there. I thought it was just very cute, and I kept it, I keep it with my tools so I could use it to, for magical workings. The second one, this one, I picked up, I found, Skip and I were walking out in the woods, and I found it. It was on the ground, so I cleansed it with lots of sage, and I blessed it with Palo Santo, and I've dedicated it to represent the element of fire. And I want to talk about that for a second. But this stays on my altar, and it represents the element of fire, so it pulls in that element into my altar. So to me, a blade represents the element of fire, and not everybody is in agreement with that. If you're familiar with the Rider-Waite tarot cards, the wand represents the element of fire. For me, that doesn't make sense. For me, it doesn't work. So my system, the east is air. Wands represent the element of air. And in the south is fire. And the blade represents fire to me. Let's see. Christopher Penczak, one of my favorite authors, which he authors. One of my favorite authors. In his book, I believe it's The Outer Temple of Witchcraft, he explains why or what he was taught about the blade representing air and the wand representing fire, and that he sees fire in the east, and that's how he casts his circle, is he goes north first, which is earth, and then fire in the east, and then air in the south, and then water in the west. And he explains it. I can't remember how, how he explains it, but he was taught by Laurie Cabot. And I believe that tradition comes from the same group of people who use the Rider-Waite. And I did read something one time about, well, maybe the people who put together the Rider-Waite wanted to, or had an oath, and they couldn't reveal that they actually really saw the element of air in the east. I don't know. You can get into all kinds of weird stuff when you think about that. But all I know is whatever works for you, and follow that. I'm not going to tell you you have to see the element of air in the east. That's my thing. It works for me, makes sense to me. And maybe sometime I can go into more depth on that. But I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on whether fire is in the east or is air in the east. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So down below. Okay, so the next one is traditionally, well, not quite. It doesn't have a black handle. So it's supposed to have a black handle, but I don't care. But this is what many witches would call an Athame. It's a double-bladed, so it has a blade on each side. And I use this when I want to invoke empowerment, my own personal power. Say I feel like I'm being attacked, I feel vulnerable. I use this in meditation. I just hold it in meditation and visualize, wielding it. So I don't actually physically necessarily wield it. I might, put it up in the air or something, but usually I meditate with it, and I feel it, and I use it as a symbol of empowerment because I want to pull my power to me. And if I feel vulnerable, I want to know what it is that's making me feel vulnerable. What is it that I'm afraid of? I need to know what it is that's making me feel weak. And then, excuse me, then I can deal with that. I can heal it and return to feeling empowerment and feeling empowered. And then I can face my enemy, whatever I perceive as my enemy. And that could be a person, that could be a thing, that could be a situation, that could be, all sorts of different things. And then I can face it and say, I'm going to conquer you. So maybe it's, say, for instance, a fear of speaking in public. So then that would be your demon, so to speak. And so you could take your Athame and ritually slay that demon of fear of speaking in public. And that can help a lot. Symbolism in your mind, you're speaking to your subconscious mind and saying, hey, it's okay to speak in public. Nothing bad's going to happen. If you make a mistake, so what? No big deal, just keep going. Make a joke about it or something and just make people laugh and just keep going. And so it's that self-talk that's very, very important to me. So I meditate with that, and I use it to pull my power together so I can feel empowered. And that is what protects me. So I don't focus on protection per se, because feeling empowered, the byproduct of that is being protected. Okay, so my last one is when I'm feeling really vulnerable and I'm talking to the universe and I mean business. This guy comes out. This is a museum replica of an Irish sword. I'm not going to pull it out because the finish is coming off. I need to find somebody who can fix it, to refinish it. But it's like I said, a museum replica. And so I will pull this out and I will stand in whatever element I'm calling on, usually the south. Because south to me is fire, and that's empowerment, encouragement, courage, encouragement, power, empowerment. I don't want this to fall down. So I will stand with it, holding on to it, and I mean effing business here when this comes out. And I haven't had to use it in a long time. So I'm doing pretty good. I feel like I'm doing pretty good. So anyway, those are my knives, and that's how I use them. And I would love to hear how you use yours. If you have knives, if you have a bowline, do you use a bowline to cut your herbs? And what else do you do with your knives? I would love to hear from you. So down below, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for leaving me comments and supporting this channel. Do something today that brings you joy and makes you feel good. I love you all. Until next time, blessed be.